Okay, so today we're diving deep into Italian culture. And luckily, we have this newsletter, 10 Events in Italy You Just Can't Miss. Although, to be honest, it's not really about 10 events, more like a window into Italian life.
Yeah, it's true. It's not your typical list. It's more about capturing the feeling of being in Italy, especially in November.
And speaking of November, they call it a month with a double soul. Well, what do you think that means from an Italian perspective?
A month with a double soul. It's a very interesting way to put it. I think it refers to the unique duality of this time in Italy. On the one hand, you have this excitement, this buzz for the holidays. Everyone's looking forward to celebrating. But then you also have this element of reflection, a time when Italians look back and connect with their history, their ancestors. So it's about anticipation and reflection all at once.
Looking forward and remembering the past, it's a really fascinating concept. Now, one of the things that immediately grabbed my attention in this newsletter was the top 10 places to visit in Italy. I mean, the photos alone almost make you want to pack your bags right now.
The photography is stunning for sure. But rather than trying to cover all 10 places, maybe we can focus on one in particular, Positano. They mentioned charming cafes, those colorful houses built right into the hillsides. What makes Positano stand out, even within Italy?
Yeah, let's zero in on Positano. What makes it so special?
It really captures that essence of Italy, a
Yeah.
natural beauty mixed with this rich cultural history. The way they describe it, perched on those cliffs on the Amalfi Coast, those houses, almost like they're spilling down into the water.
Yeah, and the newsletter seems to suggest it's more than just a pretty picture, right? I mean, it's obviously beautiful, but what else draws people to Positano?
Well, Positano has this incredible history. It was a major port back in the medieval period, and you can still see those influences today. The architecture, the way the streets are laid out, it's like stepping back in time. But at the same time, it hasn't lost its local character.
A blend of old and new.
Exactly. You can wander through these ancient alleyways, maybe stop in a ceramic shop, some family business passed down through generations. And then, right around the corner, you're having dinner overlooking the water at a trattoria. That connection to its past, that's what gives it that special something, I think.
That feeling of history being alive all around you.
Exactly. And that takes us back to that idea of November having a double soul. The newsletter linked to this article about a newly discovered Roman villa just this year in 2024. Just like in Positano, where you have those layers of history, this discovery shows that Italy's past is still very much present.
It's incredible, isn't it, to think that we're still finding these ancient structures, uncovering new pieces of the puzzle. One day, this villa wasn't even on the map, and now it's giving us this whole new understanding of Roman life.
It's like this constant process of discovery, uncovering hidden treasures. And that's a big part of Italian culture, wouldn't you say? Each artifact, each mosaic, it's a tangible connection to the past, a reminder of that legacy.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And speaking of connections to the past, the newsletter also mentions this Roman legionary adventure that's supposed to be a big hit in 2024.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. It's taking history and making it into this immersive experience. You can read about Roman legionaries, sure, but to actually imagine yourself in their armor, learning their formations, it brings a whole new dimension to how we understand history.
Makes you wonder what it would have been like to march with those legions, to experience that world firsthand.
It speaks to our desire to connect with the past, to understand those who came before us. And in Italy, where history is so intertwined with the landscape, I think those connections feel even stronger.
You know, one thing that struck me about this newsletter is how it really appeals to the senses. They describe the smell of fresh bread, the colors of those buildings in Positano, even the sound of a Ducati motorcycle out on the open road.
It's true. They're painting a picture with words.
Yeah.
You're not just reading information, you're almost experiencing Italy through this newsletter. It's like they're trying to transport you there.
Yeah.
And that ties into that idea of the Italian good life, right? Savoring the moment, enjoying the simple things, really experiencing life with all your senses.
And speaking of enjoying life, we can't forget about the food. They actually include a recipe for Tyrone.
Ah, Tyrone, that delicious nougat. It's practically synonymous with Italian history. It goes all the way back to ancient Rome. Emperors and everyday people, everyone loved it.
So it's more than just a dessert then. It has some serious history behind it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The recipe itself is often passed down through families, which tells you a lot about the importance of tradition in Italian culture.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's often enjoyed during holidays, especially around Christmas, just emphasizes how significant it is in Italian life.
It's amazing how something like Tyrone can hold so much meaning, you know? It shows how much food is a part of Italian culture. It's not just about eating, it's about family and history and tradition, all wrapped up in one delicious treat.
Exactly. And that's what makes exploring Italian culture so fascinating. There's always something more to discover, these hidden layers. Even just reading this newsletter, you get a sense of how much there is to learn and experience.
I know, I'm definitely feeling that travel bug now. But beyond wanting to book a trip to Italy, what do you think is the key takeaway for our listeners? What's that one big idea we hope they'll remember from this deep dive?
Well, the newsletter keeps coming back to this idea of the Italian good life. And I think that's something we could all relate to. It's about figuring out what makes a good life, what makes life worth living.
Absolutely. Is it about enjoying amazing food, being surrounded by beauty, connecting with people we love? Or maybe, like you said, it's about uncovering those hidden layers of history and culture wherever we are.
Right. And maybe even trying to recreate some of those experiences ourselves. Who knows? Maybe someone listening will be inspired to make their own Tyrone, share a little piece of Italy with their family and friends.
That's a great idea. And with that image of delicious homemade Tyrone, we'll wrap things up for today. Until next time, remember to embrace a little of that dolce far niente, the sweetness of doing nothing, or at least the sweetness of appreciating life's simple pleasures. Ciao for now.